everyone, welcome back to StudyOnion. Today we're going to be talking about eclipses. Mainly, why do solar eclipses happen and why do lunar eclipses happen, solar eclipses, lunar eclipses, and something we call contact points that we will look at during an eclipse. So, let's get started! So, let's think about why eclipses actually happen. And it's actually because of an amazing cosmic coincidence that they happen. The sun and the moon appear to be the same size, despite the sun having a much larger mass than the moon. And this is actually because, despite the sun having a much larger mass than the moon, the distance between the sun and the earth is much higher than the distance between the sun and the moon. And these factors counteract to create an instance where the sun and the moon both look the same size in the sky. Secondly, both angular diameters are 0.5 degrees, and this basically means that when you look at the night sky, the celestial objects are both at the same angle in the sky, and this means that they can actually create eclipses for us on Earth. Let's talk solar eclipses. So, the first picture that you can see here is a partial solar eclipse, when only a portion of the moon covers the sun's disk. The second one that you can see is an annular eclipse, and this is a special type of partial solar eclipse, when the moon is actually slightly smaller than at other times, and this is because the moon is close to the apogee in its orbit around the Earth, so it's slightly further away from the Earth. And the sun looks like a thin annulus, or a ring of fire, when it would otherwise be totally obscured. Now, the third image that you can see here is when, during totality, the sky actually darkens, and you can see the solar corona, and that's what's visible here in the third image. And finally, the fourth image is where you can see the diamond ring effect, which we'll talk more about in just a minute. So when the moon actually passes in front of the sun, it obscures light from the photosphere. But it obscures the light from the surface of the sun, which is also known as the photosphere, and this creates a solar eclipse. During totality, the sky darkens, and some stars can be seen, and the solar corona, which is seen in the third picture, is also visible. If you see these small bright spots like you can see on the fourth image of sunlight shining through the valleys of the moon, these are known as Bailey's beads, or in the case of that fourth image, because there is only one, it's called the diamond ring effect. This is an absolutely beautiful phenomenon, and it's so much fun. If you ever get a chance to go see a solar eclipse, jump on it. Now, solar eclipses actually only last a few minutes, and they happen during new moon. If only some of the sun is covered by the moon, it's known as a partial solar eclipse. And we talked about an annular solar eclipse, which is a type of partial solar eclipse, where the moon is slightly smaller than at other times, creating this thin annulus or ring of fire where the sun is still visible. So let's take a little look at this solar eclipse diagram. So we can see the moon, the sun, and the earth, and if the observer is in the umbra, they'll be able to experience a total solar eclipse, whereas if the observer is in the penumbra, the sun will appear to only be in a partial solar eclipse. Solar eclipses happen at new moon, and they only ever last for a few minutes. So let's take a look at lunar eclipses. Lunar eclipses occur when the moon is passing through the Earth's shadow, and they actually happen during full moon. And during totality, the moon is a rusty copper colour due to the red light that's refracting through the Earth's atmosphere, illuminating the moon. And the duration of a lunar eclipse is actually much longer than that of the solar eclipse. It's up to about 3 hours. And this is because the Earth's shadow is actually much larger than the moon, so it has to pass through the entirety of the Earth's shadow during the period of time in which it's eclipsed. So let's look at the diagram of the lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipses occur when the moon passes through the Earth's shadow. Umbral for a total eclipse, or penumbral or part umbral for a partial eclipse. They occur at full moon, and during totality, the moon is a copper or rusty red in colour, and this is because of the predominantly red light which refracts through the Earth's atmosphere. The blue light has already been scattered due to the predominantly red light refracting through the Earth's atmosphere and illuminating the moon. You might ask, where's the blue light gone? But the blue light has actually already been scattered. So let's look at the contact points. Now the key points in any eclipses, so a solar or lunar eclipse's progress, are described using first to fourth umbral contacts. So whereas the time interval between the second and the third contact is only a few minutes for a solar eclipse, it can be up to 3 hours for a lunar eclipse, as I've already mentioned. Now we actually measure how rusty red the moon is using the Danjon Scale for the lunar eclipses, and this is an estimate because colours can't be measured particularly accurately in the sky, but we like to use this to estimate the colour of the lunar eclipse, and I'll put a little picture of that on the screen right now. Eclipses happen because of an amazing cosmic coincidence that the sun and the moon are both the same size in the sky. Also, both angular diameters are roughly 0.5 degrees. There are 3 types of solar eclipse: a partial solar eclipse, an annular solar eclipse, and a total solar eclipse. A diamond ring effect is also when light can be seen through the moon's valleys, and it usually occurs just before or just after totality. During totality, some of the stars can be seen, the temperature drops, and the sun's corona can also be observed. Solar eclipses occur during the new moon and only last a few minutes. An annular eclipse happens when the moon is slightly smaller than at other times due to it being closer to the apogee in its elliptical orbit around the Earth, and you see a thin annulus or ring of fire around the sun where it would otherwise be obscured. Lunar eclipses occur when the moon passes through the Earth's shadow, and they occur at full moon, roughly lasting up to 3 hours. And during totality, the moon is in a copper or rusty red colour due to the predominantly red light which refracts off the Earth's atmosphere to illuminate the moon. The Danjon Scale can be used to estimate the colour of the total lunar eclipse. Key points in the eclipse's progress are described using the first to fourth umbral contact points. Hopefully that helps you guys learn more about eclipses, and I'd love to see you again next time. Bye guys!